I see you driving round town with the girl I love, and I'm like, we're doing a duet, Matt.
I don't. I'm really bad at lyrics, so
you don't remember that CeeLo Green song?
I do. Was it "Forget You" or was it "Screw You"? I can't remember.
Forget You, or was it "Screw You"? Yeah, that's fair, man. I just, I'm trying to evolve the show.
Yeah, the only songs I know are Creed and Nickelback.
But you've heard that song, right?
I have heard that song. Yeah.
Should we try a different line, maybe?
No, please don't.
Good. Well, let's just try one more line.
Okay.
All right. I pity the fool that falls in love with you. Oop, she's a gold digger. Just thought you should know.
No.
Just thought you should. Come on, Matt. Take it away. Thought you should know.
I got nothing. No.
You don't remember that one?
Don't remember that one.
Oh, okay. A good song.
Yeah.
It's a little earworm, Gets stuck in your head.
It really just kind of wiggles in there.
Yeah. Well, for everybody joining us now, welcome to the Level With Me podcast, the podcast where two dudes talk about games, life. And
Level Cap tries to make me feel uncomfortable as possible.
It's part of the fun.
Yep.
If you want to support the podcast, we do have a Patreon too that is linked in the video description. Your Patreon donations help us out a lot, make us feel valued. They also go into a special fund that will eventually buy Matimio a wife, which we've looked up and it may be legal. I don't know. Let us know in the comments if mail order brides are still legal. Were they ever legal? We don't really know.
This joke will die one day, I hope. Please.
Yeah. Well, do they ever really die? So Matt, what do you think the most popular video game character is in the world?
The most Pikachu.
Pikachu. Lara Croft, baby.
It's not Pikachu?
Lara Croft.
Lara Croft. Okay, that was my second guess.
No, I don't think it is her, but have you seen the BAFTA award thing that was like...
No.
Okay, so the BAFTA, which is like British Association for Film and Television, I think. They did like a poll because they're like, an association. They're not cool and hip. And they did a poll for like the most popular video game players or characters rather in the world. And the returns are ridiculous. Number 1 is Lara Croft. They posted this online. They're like, here's the most popular video game characters in the world. Okay. Number 1, Lara Croft. Number 2, Mario, which does make sense.
Yeah, no, Mario makes sense. Yeah, that would be a good one.
Number 3, Agent 47. What do you think?
What? No. I like Agent 47. He's great, but there ain't no way that is true.
This was going viral for a while. It was very entertaining. Then there's Sonic the Hedgehog is 4. I can see that.
Yeah, definitely see that.
Number 5, Sackboy. What do you think?
Sackboy?
Yeah, do you remember Sackboy?
I don't even know who Sackboy is.
Yeah, from like Little Big Planet. He
has a name? No, I didn't even know that was his name.
So that's number 5.
Okay.
He keeps going like hit or miss here. Next one is Pac-Man is number 6, which I'm like, okay. That should be up there in the top 3 probably. We got Link, Master Chief. Kratos is number 9.
Okay. Kratos is pretty popular now, especially with the new games.
Shadowheart, number 10.
She is the love of my life, so.
Top 10 most popular video game characters in the world.
Literally, just for a game that just came out last year to be the most popular of all time is quite an achievement. Yeah. So I'm going to say probably not.
Yeah. They have some on there that I don't. They have Arthur Morgan on there from Red Dead Redemption, which I'm like, I don't know about that one. They also have Asterion from Baldur's Gate. So they have 2 Baldur's Gate characters on there.
Yeah. They're all, everything you've named are good characters, but I don't think really Pikachu wasn't up there. I legitimately thought
he is.
Pikachu.
Pikachu's number 12, but he should be like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
They don't have like Samus or Donkey Kong.
Because isn't Pokemon literally the biggest franchise in the world?
I think it is.
Legitimately.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I went with Pikachu.
Yeah. Anyway, not that this list matters at all. It was just funny because it's like up on this very professional website of like, here's the most popular video game characters in the world.
Well, it's interesting because like, obviously, when you get a lot of people voting, it will usually end up somewhat correct because that's just the how voting works, right? But they did a poll for Battlefield on Reddit. I think it was Reddit, and like, what is the best Battlefield? And Battlefield 1 was number one.
Battlefield 1.
Yeah,
and I agree with that. To be honest,
I can see it. Yeah, but I disagree.
I'm surprised that the poll was that way. But had you taken that poll when Battlefield 1 came out, it would have been like Battlefield 4 or something, you know?
Probably.
It's just sort of like the new generation associates. And I think this
it's
list
a lot
here
of people
is kind of that
Battlefield
too.
Was 1.
Yeah. Well, and I think this video game character list might be a little bit of that too, where like Sackboy, that's probably a bunch of people whose like kids played Sackboy.
I guess,
like,
yeah.
Oh, I know Sackboy. Or like Lara Croft is like, okay, they've been making a bunch of movies. She's been in the news lately, so I mean, obviously a very popular video game
Lara
character.
Croft.
But yeah, I don't know if it's number one, man. Anyway,
no, I don't think so either.
None of that matters. Did you see that?
Oh, it matters.
Did you see that Notch, Mr. Notch, inventor of Minecraft, is making a new video game studio?
No, I did not. Do you know anything more than just that?
No, it's called it's called BitShift, which everybody's already...
BitShift.
Yeah, BitShift. Can say it real fast. Doesn't sound like anything else.
No, it does not.
No, I don't know much about it other than the comments about his announcement of it were very funny because he's kind of become a pariah of the internet for a while.
Yes, he has. Well, I haven't looked into it, but from what it sounds like, he would say some pretty inflammatory things. And
yeah, he was really trying to like be number one, just like, I don't know, internet, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, he's starting a new game company. I guess he got bored of it. You think his next game's going to be good? I mean, like, does Minecraft seem like a fluke or is he a genius? Like,
I mean, there's no way to know, honestly. I would honestly say it's more of a fluke that it became the cultural icon because it's literally like a cultural thing now. Like everyone knows what Minecraft is. It's massive. It's a multi-billion-dollar.
It's just growing too, man.
It's ridiculous. So to expect him to have that kind of success once again, doubt it. But he could make a new game. I'm sure he's got the chops for it.
Yeah, I'm always like, there's a couple of game devs that like, they have their success, then they like retire from the industry, then they come back later. And I don't know if there's any pattern to like whether or not the next game is good or not. I remember when Cliff Bleszinski kind of came back after a while and with Lawbreakers, remember that? And he was like, I had a dream about this game and we had to make it. And then they put it behind a paywall and it was in the era of free to play arena shooters and people were like, okay, this isn't gonna make it.
The same time Overwatch came out too, didn't it?
Yeah, it got blasted by like a bunch of either free to play or cost effective or just got overwatched to death basically. Also it had some game mode issues, but whatever. It was sort of like this thing where like Cliff Bleszinski has this insane track record of just like working on all these mega games from like Unreal Tournament to Gears of War. And I think he owned like a stake in Epic or something. Like he's a billionaire, I think, quite literally.
Is he really? Goddamn.
I believe so.
Holy hell.
And maybe I'm talking out my ass, but I
think he might be, but it's fine.
He's up there, man. He like flies private jets everywhere and stuff. So
wow.
I don't think you fly private jets around when you got a couple of mil floating around.
Good point.
Yeah. But yeah, I always wonder about these guys that like have this huge history to try and top, right? And then you come back and they're like, I'm going to make the next big thing. And it seems like almost impossible.
Yeah, no, they set their own, because I mean, they're actually not setting their own expectations. I'm sure they're trying to rise to it. But then you've got like one thing that comes to mind is Doom, the recent like 2016 game, the Doom Eternal. Felt like they delivered with that. God of War comes to mind as well. Granted, that wasn't the same game director. I think he had the guy, I can't remember his name. I'm terrible with names. You know that. But the one that made the 2008, I think had he helped out a lot on the next one, but he wasn't like the main game director.
Yeah.
So it's got to be tough. And I can't even imagine how much work and effort goes into trying to make a single game, let alone a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I've been watching more YouTubers lately who are more, there's like a lot of game dev YouTubers, as you would expect, right? You know, once you start going down a new path on YouTube, you're like, there's a whole community for this. But I've been following some lately, and there's one guy that he makes games, puts them on Steam, but it's part of his content. So he's just making the game as part of the content. And they made some little game where it's like a toaster shooting toasted stuff. And it's the simplest thing ever. And he's like, guess how long this game took from start to finish to get it up on Steam? And he's like, 24 days, you know, and you're like, I think it was supposed to be meant as like an impressive statement, because I'm sure it was from the amount of work that had to go on, but from somebody standing on the sidelines, you're like, it's just a toaster that shoots its stuff, and it's like a little progression game where it's super simple. How'd this take 24 days? You know, it's like, well, once you actually start breaking down every little element of a game, there's like 20 rules to anything that moves or interacts, and it just gets insanely complex.
The one company that comes to mind now that you actually mention it is Larian Studios with Swen. The fact that he's gone from Divinity to now Baldur's Gate, and every game seems to be better and better and better and larger in scale. That actually probably be the one person I could think of that would just
actually deliver.
Yeah.
What is it? What can you possibly do for the next one? I think it's going to have AI characters.
I think they're having to scale down, honestly. I don't think they can do what they just did 2 times in a row.
I think they need those AI characters that actually interact with you, and you just have to like figure out what to ask them, you know?
I mean, it could be cool if you could talk to like NPCs and they could react, but at the same time, I think that would also remove because you can't write for that, right? Like if it's just an AI, then the writing suffers.
You can write kind of paths and caricatures for them, but I haven't done it, so I don't know how it works. But you can give them styles and all that kind of stuff. But
I'm sure you could. But the writing was so good in Baldur's Gate, and if it became more AI generated, while even though it was trying to follow a path and everything, I don't think it would hit as hard. It would be cool. It would be neat to be able to interact with characters and just actually talk to them, but I don't know. Could be the future. It could also just be a total gimmick.
Yeah. You ever realize how I think we live in this YouTube technosphere so much, and we sometimes think that other people live in it as well. But I was hanging out at like a kids event, making small talk with another dad, and I brought up AI because it's like one of the things that's like all over the news all the time, right?
Yeah.
It somehow was relevant to what we were talking about. And he went, "What do you mean AI?" And I went, "Oh, okay, artificial intelligence." Sorry, he didn't know the acronym. And he went, "What do you mean artificial intelligence?" And I was like, "Have you never heard the term before?" And like completely oblivious to all of it. And I was very surprised. Like I couldn't figure out if I'm just feel like too he might be living into the nerd sphere.
Under a rock.
Maybe. Yeah. I couldn't tell if I'm like, am I too engaged and I just assume that everybody knows all this stuff? Or did I just run into somebody who's like never heard the term AI before?
I think they might just be a little oblivious. I mean, obviously we do live in our own ecosystems and echo chambers and everything, but to not even, I mean, what is it? NVIDIA is now one of the largest companies in the entire world. Granted, they're probably overvalued, but like they're so massive right now. And like every company is pushing to AI. All the Google,
all the tech centers,
Microsoft, everything. So,
and it seems like it's going to affect every industry to some degree.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I was just I didn't know what to think of it. I was like, huh.
This is surprising.
Yeah. It's like, maybe he's one of those people.
Man's just living his life.
He could be one of those people that like unplugs from all the digital stuff, in which case you might not. I guess. But also, where do you get your news then? Right? I mean, do they even deliver newspapers?
The idea that we need to be, connected to everything around the world is nonsense. Level cap.
I'm right there with you to until that logic falters. But
disconnect from reality.
I like it.
Become one with oneself.
I like it. So what have you been playing, man?
Well, I wanted to update you quickly on Helldivers 2 because I know you haven't played, and you said you were going to play with me. And
I'm going to play with you. I'll play with you this week. You took your ball and
you went home, and I was sad. Okay,
I'll play with you
Helldivers 2.
Yeah,
there has been a big campaign and a big push to take out the bots, the robots, right?
Yeah,
and
automatons.
We successfully did it. The automatons, yes, and we did it.
Dang it!
They're now completely. You cannot fight against them. They are completely wiped from the system.
What?
Yes.
Is this permanent, or is there a secret
that's
automaton?
What everyone is wondering. And so what
this is brilliant, by the way.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. So this is my favorite thing about the game is that they have their like little story that the community itself tells where they're interacting with the game, and then it actually feels like you're involved with something bigger. So there was a huge push to take them out, tons of like orders and things like that. And then the community wiped them from the map. And so you go to like Reddit and social media, and people are like celebrating. They're making memes about how we've done it, and it really feels like you're a part of something.
Yeah,
which I know
we won the war.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then other people, the undemocratic people, like, wait, what? This is probably going to lead to something.
The non-democrats.
What is going to happen?
Yeah, there's people who don't support democracy.
So now people are speculating that there's going to be like the new faction's going to be introduced, or they're going to come back in some way. Now, nothing's been confirmed or anything like that, but the devs have done such a good job, and this has never happened before like this, and the game's been out for a while now, at least a couple of months.
Yeah.
So what is it going to lead to? Other people are speculating that this is obviously never going to happen, but because now everyone's focused on the bugs. If you take out the bugs and they're now all wiped out, and then there's just nothing to go against, like, all right, congratulations, Super Earth is protected. It just turns into
a farming game.
And then it's just GG, and then they just shut down the servers.
It's just Farm Simulator after that. Yeah. They have a whole farming metagame planned out for like
that would be great.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are thinking that either the automatons are going to come back in full force, and then there's going to be something, maybe new missions or maybe new enemies, which they've already added. They added in like 2 new enemies just in the last week, which was super dope, which you can't experience because they're now gone.
Yeah.
And so I adore Helldivers.
They're doing old school MMO plays, but not in an MMO. It's smart, man. Also, this stuff had to be planned out before they knew Helldivers was going to be a massive hit. So like this was just their dream for the game. They're not doing this because they're like, we have a huge hit. Let's do some crazy stuff with it now.
This was probably all planned.
Yeah. Oh man. Huge respect to these guys for making something new and innovative. And sure, it's probably like a AA game in terms of like budget and dev team size and stuff, but it's nice to see. I think AA is kind of the new epicenter for that creative spot where you can still churn out a really cool, interesting game that has enough budget behind it so it looks cool, it has nice effects and cool gameplay and all that stuff.
Yep.
It's exciting, man. That's cool.
So the 11th, they're going to have like their new war bond, which will come with some new weapons. And people are speculating that maybe that's when they're also going to showcase what happened to the automatons, or maybe something new will happen along that same timeline.
I want them to be like one of the factions is like merged with them, and now they're the cyborg faction.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be neat.
It's cool. It's good. Oh man, there's going to be like a Helldivers movie, and like, it'd be funny.
I mean, there already is technically kind of one.
Is there?
Well, it's now I'm going to look like a fool because I can't remember off the top of my head.
You mean Starship
Trooper?
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
Starship Trooper. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say is like if they made a Helldivers movie, would it be based on the book or the game? Because I think they're pretty different. But I never made it past the first Helldivers book.
Well, so Helldivers takes heavy inspiration. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's Starship Troopers and also Terminator combined. Automatons feel like a Terminator War, while the bugs feels like Starship.
For sure. Hey, speaking of books that I started reading Red Rising.
Yes.
I'm only on like chapter 5 or 6 or something. Okay. But liking it so far, man. They're not wasting any time. They're getting into it. They're like, yeah, we could give you a long preamble about the history and whatnot. but it does remind me a lot. I'm trying to remember which is one of the first sci-fi novels.
Yeah, speaking of Helldivers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That kind of cracked me up at first. I was like, wait, I double checked what book I had because I had Helldivers on my audiobook thing.
Yeah.
And they all of a sudden started talking about Helldivers and Red Rising. And I was like, what? Wait, did I click on the wrong book?
The Reds are miners and they're called Helldivers.
Helldivers.
Because they descend into Mars's hellish pits.
Yeah, I like it. I can't remember if it's Brave New World or one of those books, one of the original sci-fi books that dealt with the kind of predetermined class system where people, I think they might have used colors or something like that to determine the types of classes, but it reminded me a lot of that. I was like, oh, this is just like that old school sci-fi book, but on Mars, which is cool.
Yeah, The whole class system is really interesting too, because I don't know how much they've introduced you to the world, but there's all sorts of different colors, and the golds are just basically gods compared to everyone else, and it's just they're just nuts. So I think you're in for a treat.
I like it. I want to be a gold, man. They got it made.
I mean, they're basically genetic perfections. Yeah. They're like 7 feet tall, all muscular, beautiful, flowing, yellow hair.
Yeah. It's like going
blonde hair, I should say.
It's like going to Sweden. You ever go to Sweden? You're like, what the eugenics just happened over here, man? Like,
yes, sure.
What? The one country that like more or less raped and pillaged their way into. Hey, this is well known, Matt. This is well known historical information. I'm not about to get in trouble with all the Swedes, but they all are very good looking, very tall and blonde, muscular people. And I'm like, what's happening over here? And then dig into the history a little. I'll leave it at that. Just dig in a little bit of that Swedish history.
Fair enough.
Meatball. The food, the country's beautiful. Meatballs, a little overrated, but
Oh, I've never been. I mean, I've also never been out of the United States. Well, I've been to just Mexico twice, but that's it.
That's better.
And Canada and Canada once. Granted, the United States is so large. Like, granted, I'm not like experiencing a lot of culture, but there's a lot. Like, it's big.
It's pretty freaking large, and there's a lot of different culture within the U.S. alone. And I've only been to like. The states around California and then New York a couple times.
That's not bad. I mean, I've been in all.
I went to St. Croix, which is a territory, and then Hawaii, I guess, but nothing exotic.
Yeah. So speaking of exotic, this is a terrible transition. I've been playing, and I don't know if you can believe it, Fallout 76 for the first time.
For the first time, look at you prepping for the TV show.
Yeah,
I think
that's actually exactly why.
Dropping like this 100%. Week, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe dropping when this podcast drops.
Yeah, it might actually. But so Fallout 76,
I hear it's a lot better than it launched.
It had its disaster of a launch, which was super embarrassing, and it is now in a good spot. I wouldn't say it's a fantastic, amazing 10 out of 10 game. It's still got an unbelievable amount of Bethesda jank. So if you want to go from full screen to windowless, borderless, you have to restart your game. So to change basic settings, you have to completely restart your game. Like, what year is it?
It's a
Bethesda?
miracle of the game industry is the fact that Bethesda is still in business. Like, honestly, for the lack of innovation of that company and they're just relying on like ancient broken tech that they're just like, we'll update it in the next game, You're like, I mean, it's so funny now how Starfield is portrayed by people in the media where they're like, Starfield's the worst game ever, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what happened to all this crazy support at launch where everybody was praising it and stuff? But I can't put my finger on Bethesda games anymore. I'm just like, they all just feel so janky and like the artwork's janky and it's Starfield had that weird filter over everything, so you never saw like true dark colors. It was all just like it looked like a sepia tone photo. It's like, who did this? This is terrible. People modded it away just so the game would look good,
And it does look a lot better too when you mod it.
Yeah.
Like significantly better.
Yeah, they're just trying to engage the modding community, man. They're like, don't you want the game to look better? Mod it. Do it.
Mod it. Change it to your heart's content.
So you like in Fallout 76?
I actually am enjoying my time, but it is kind of funny because when the game released, there were no NPCs. No, like for quests and stuff. You would either find recordings on the ground of people who left and died, or like went somewhere else, or they died, or whatever. So there's a bunch of recordings. And then, what's up?
What did you do?
What did I do?
No, I mean, when there was no NPCs giving quests, like you just wandered around?
No, well, no. So you would basically, that would be the quest, is that you would find the remnants of someone, and then they would leave like breadcrumbs as to like where you should go next, or you would meet robots. A lot of the NPCs that you find are essentially just robots. Some of them act basically just like a normal person would. Rose, for example. And then they just tell you, I'm going to basically have you go on a quest. And it's not as bad as it sounds. They've added in others, and there's actually some like really interesting ones. Like, for example, this isn't a spoiler. I mean, it kind of is, but you come across a distress signal, and it's a astronaut that was in deep space or something like that. And they just landed, and like they've crashed. And you're like, I'm so sorry. You've been in space for like 40 years, and they had no idea that like nukes went off and stuff. So like everything is brand new. And I've only just started that quest. And I'm like, this is actually an interesting premise. So there is like some decent writing and some
40 years in space, dear God. Like they come back, all their muscles must be jello.
Well, she looks young. So I think there must have been like some like cryo freezing,
okay,
or whatever to keep them. And maybe I was wrong off on the timeline. I'm not entirely certain. I like I said, only just got started with that quest. But yeah, it's not an amazing game, but it's got the people that love it. I can't believe how many people came into my channel or like would help me out, and like it was all very welcoming. And you look around. So after 3 days, I think I'm level 21. So 3 days, about 6 to 7 hours of streaming.
That's
it's adding up. Level 21. There are people that I came across that were 1,500.
Can you even touch them? Are they like the golds? Do they just
they are gods? Yes, they are gods. I don't even know what you get for leveling up that high. I don't know if you just keep getting more stats. It might
It'd be
stop
really
at level
funny
50,
if the devs just like never tested it. They're just like, I don't know, 10,000, 100,000.
Yeah.
Why don't we just not put a level cap? Oh, I said my name. Why don't we just not put that into the game? And nobody.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. It depends on how it's balanced, and I don't know how it is because I haven't reached it yet. But I mean, it's cool that there might be some sort of progression, a little bit of progression. You get like cards and things like that they can then use to like have different builds. So there's a lot of build diversity. So that's probably what they're grinding for. And all in all, like the gameplay loop is just kind of fun wandering around in this post-apocalyptic world, trying to solve different quests and mysteries and discovering things and getting more loot. And what it really is making me excited for is the new Stalker 2 game. Yeah,
man. I think it's been delayed again till like holiday season or something. It's far back, like October or some a ways off. Don't quote me on any of these release dates, but it just keeps getting pushed back. But you should read Stalker. It is very good. I think you would like it.
Probably would like it.
That'll pump you up for the next game even more because you'll see how much the game not only takes from the book, but they take it from this really old Stalker movie that was made. I think it's like I can't remember if it's a Russian movie or like a Polish movie or like or I don't know, something. Somebody made the movie, but like when they made it, they're shooting it in all these like kind of apocalyptic, gross places, and one of them was like in the waste river of like some plant. And like everybody on the crew got like cancer and died basically.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's insanity.
Holy hell. Why would they do that?
I don't know, because they don't have like regulations or something over there where they made it.
So they're like, hey guys, want to go swim in a swamp full of radioactive material?
Yeah. But
That's
Stalker 2,
miserable.
the opening sequence of like the demo trailer where you like kind of wake up on this little like piece of grass in the middle of a river or something like that. That looks based on the movie essentially. The premise of the book and all that stuff is super interesting, and it gets you into this like the headspace of the zone and all that stuff. And I won't. There aren't really too many giveaways from the book, but there is like an interesting conceptual change where in the game they say, oh, the Chernobyl accident created this zone, this like radiation zone that broke into some new physical dimension or whatever, and created this crazy environment. And in the book, it's sort of like they describe it as like they think it's First Contact, but with almost like alien trash, if that makes sense. Okay. So like rather than aliens coming down and be like, hello, it's like something they threw out the window of their spaceship and like like landed on the planet in a couple spots and has now created these places where the rules of physics just don't apply anymore and weird crap happens. And so I kind of like, there's that difference there, and I understand why they changed it for the game to have like a fun location based type thing, but more or less they stay true to the overall premise and ideas and philosophy of the thing. But
I just hope that it hits, because the idea of, and this is what I've been enjoying about Fallout 76, is I like wandering around and having that survivability of needing to gather, food and water and gathering, ammo for your weapons and stuff like that, and just exploring the world. It's just really fun. But to have it be a little bit more gritty, have it be a little bit more, grounded, and hopefully less jank. Because boy,
I have a feeling Stalker 2 is going to be janky, and everybody who's a fan of the original game is like, if it's anything like the original game, it's going to be super janky. But one thing that game has done in a way that I haven't really seen many other titles replicate, because frankly, it's really risky and most big studios wouldn't want to do it, is it's so damn punishing. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, you could just die to a feral dog,
Right.
Like, you didn't see the dog coming, your armor wasn't high enough level, whatever it is, it like comes and bites you a couple times and runs away, and like your guns suck and you can't hit it, and then it like comes back around and kills you.
That's kind of what I want it to be punishing.
Oh yeah,
then
I want it too.
This real sense of like, and then when you start to get better, not only are your skill, you're better as a player, but your character also has some better items, and then you actually feel like a nice progression, and you can start moving into harder content. Yeah,
it's good. Well, what I love about it too is like, you'll get into an engagement and you will use more ammo and get more hurt from the engagement than you get from the guy that you killed. And so the game makes you really think about like, should I even have engaged those guys? Like, I think I would have been better off if I just snuck around. And so it gives you a lot of moments like that where you would make a real world decision. Like, I'm not going to fight these guys. This is a waste of time. I might die. I'm going to end up worse off than before. And there's few games that have the balls to do that, because they just want to push you into combat and those fun experiences. But somehow Stalker makes it fun because it feels more real, like avoiding combat, sneaking around. It's going to be dope, man. If they can improve upon the first game, feels like a sure win. But
I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah, same, man. The poor devs have gone through a lot for that one.
Yeah. Speaking of punishment, there was a big...
We don't want to hear about your sexual hobbies, Matt.
Oh, continue. Okay. Well then I got nothing then. All right. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So speaking of...
We know what you're into.
My escapades. Tarkov. There was an interview for Nikita. Pestily, a big content creator, big part of the community. He had an interview with him, and he talked to him about how they're going to be trying to curve the amount of extract camping. I'm assuming you know what extract camping is?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I haven't played Talker in years, and I know what extract camping is. Like, from day one.
It sucks.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that their solution is apparently they're going to be adding in a bounty hunter, which is like a boss that roams around, and depending on your karma, he'll go after you or not. So if you are someone who camps near the extract, your karma will go down, and if you do it too often, then he's going to like try to take you out. Which I'm like, okay, that sounds like it could be cool, but also, why don't you just make more extraction locations around the map so that there's less opportunity?
Your game. Yeah.
Yeah. This seems like an absolutely ridiculous amount of effort just to maybe solve the problem, when in reality it's probably going to cause more issues. And it's just like, dude, just have like more extracts. On Interchange, one of probably the biggest maps that are camped for extracts, pretty much depending on where you spawn, you only get one real extract. The others like have caveats. Like this one, you can't have a backpack when you're extracting, which is like the whole point of the game is to like loot, right?
Yeah, that's so silly.
Yeah. So it's just have a couple extra.
I feel like Hunt Showdown is a good example of kind of striking a nice balance, because they have the extracts kind of around the perimeter of the map, and then you can sort of guess where somebody might be going after they pick up one of the, whatever the tokens, I forgot what it's called when you kill a boss and then you want to extract with it. But trying to plan where they're going to go doesn't always work out. So you've got all these different extract points. People can't always go to the same ones. And they have just enough where it's like, yeah, you can get extract camped, but they usually have to figure out where to go pretty quickly towards the end of the game. They can't just sit there all around and just expect to get a whole bunch of free kills.
People will predict, like, once you pick it up and they see you running, they're like, oh, okay, we can head them off that way, right? So it's still a lot of conflict going on.
Off though, or if they do get to the extract before you, it's not like they were just waiting there and pitching a tent for like 5 minutes. It's like,
also the people that have the soul, I can't remember what it's called either, the bounty.
I think it is.
They can literally peer through the void, and they have wall hacks, so they can see you. So if like they can quickly check at the, like, once they're about the extract, is there any, there is a team here, and then we can either take them out or head to another one.
Essentially they give both parties kind of wonky wall hacks to an extent where you can at least get the approximate location of somebody. And they've solved the problem in their way. Granted, they have supernatural things to do it, but I don't know. I could, if we sat down and thought about it, we could come up with some better solutions than some weird bounty hunter crap that's like based on, okay, let's think about the logic of the system. So they have to have a system in the game that determines how much you're camping in extraction.
Right.
And has to figure out what the difference in camping is versus waiting for a teammate to get there versus standing there and deciding if you want to go back in. Like, how do they know it's a camp versus you checking your map or healing or whatever? So that already feels kind of like a flawed premise or like an overly complex thing to try and design and code in. Then you've got this bounty hunter element. Is it going to be like nothing can kill the bounty hunter? Are other players going to get engaged?
You'll be able to drop it.
Yeah. So maybe it'll have great loot, and that'll be part of the goal, is to then drop the bounty hunter to try and get its loot. What if it runs into some other poor player as it spawns, and some guy's like, oh god, there's a bounty hunter on top of me, and it just wastes them? Right. What happens after the bounty hunter kills that guy? I don't know. It's just, I don't mind the idea of a roaming boss in Tarkov. That's kind of a fun idea.
I think it could be cool.
But having that as the solution to stop extract camping just feels weird, It
does feel a little strange. I wish them the best, but it does seem like an overcomplicated solution to something that could probably be solved a little bit easier and with less headache.
Yeah. And the Rube Goldberg machine of solving a game problem.
No, maybe not the simplest. Have a couple more extracts. I mean, you could try it.
Yeah. Are you a Splinter Cell fan? Do you remember Splinter Cell?
Not really. I never got involved with that franchise.
I enjoyed it back when it was out, but it's the franchise really is so old that back when they were doing kind of stealth shooter mechanics, it was one of the few games out there that was like offering good stealth shooter mechanics. So they sort of had the market, this was pre-indie dev days, pre-anything, so there's like, hey, we made a stealth shooter. Who's our competition? Like practically nobody. So it was popular, and apparently they're working on a remake, and Ubisoft is starting to tease that a bit. I think we're going to find out more about it in a little bit.
Why are they just making a new game?
Well, so from my understanding, the remake is not going to be like, it's just Instead,
it's been like
not gonna
10 years since their last one, hasn't it?
I don't think it's going to be a remaster. I think it'll be like a remake in that it's like
Final Fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah, because nobody. So like you don't know the game, along with 99% of the other people who might be interested in buying it. So they kind of have to reintroduce you to the world of Sam Fisher and all that stuff. So I kind of get that to an extent. I'm curious about it, though.
Or they could just make a new one.
Yeah. Well, what was funny about it is that he has the like 3-lens night vision goggles, which were kind of his iconic signature back then. The tech is kind of old school now. Like we have real tech that's more advanced than it now. So it's like, it's so advanced and he can see people at night and he's like climbing up on these things. And now they've got like quad night vision things. Is he going to become a quad night vision guy now? I don't know.
No. Well, cool. I'd never really gotten into it. I know a friend who has been waiting for them to announce every single year at like Ubisoft events, the new Splinter Cell game, but it just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
For like for literally a decade.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I missed the transition. Okay. When we were talking about Stalker, I played Road to Vostok 2 demo. Have you played that yet?
Oh. Sorry. I have not played it.
Demo 2. Road to Vostok Demo 2. There isn't a sequel to Road to Vostok. It's just Road to Vostok. Gotcha. The solo dev project. I think he might have some contractor help now, but for the most part, a solo dev project. Started on Unity. Unity exploded. Switched to the Godot engine. It's basically a Stalker tribute. If you watch his latest trailer, he even has a campfire scene. That's very much like, here's the Stalker campfire thing.
The original game.
Yeah, playing a harmonica around the campfire and stuff. The demo is really impressive, and there's a game mechanic in it. It's very much built like the original Stalker, where you just have zones that you go between, where it's like, here's the exit point of this area, and then it'll load you into the next area. And you can progressively get further and further away from your home base, your stash area, which is your safe zone or whatever. But as you go into the most dangerous zone of the game, so before you get there, if you die, you lose everything that you have on your person, but you won't lose stuff in your safe zone stash, right? So that's there. So it's sort of a punishment system for screwing up. And it's a good punishment system. It kind of keeps you on your toes. And you're like, dang, I can't screw up. I'll lose everything that I gained on this run. But if you go into the most rare zone, the hardest, highest loot level zone, which I think the game is going to be designed in a way where you don't have to necessarily go into them, but you can be like lured into it with the promise of riches and wealth and all that stuff.
Of bounty.
It is a permadeath. It erases your save.
That I don't know if I like, but cool, I guess.
So I went into it, and I didn't want to lose my stuff. And it's honestly, it's a bit of a trek back after you go into it, because then you're like, shit, I gotta backtrack like 3 or 4 zones now, and not die to these NPCs that are fairly competent. Like they don't mess around. They're gonna drop you from like 200 meters. It's like, it's not a joke. And my heart rate was racing, man. It's like,
it's you lose all your stuff.
Well, I sort of had to like wrap my head around the concept again, because I was like, this is a terrible idea on paper. When I was reading about it, I was like, oh my god, like this is gonna be, who's gonna ever want to go into the permadeath zones? And then I did it, and I was like, the adrenaline rush, like it just had this like this new element that I hadn't experienced in a single player game before. It's like that adrenaline rush you get in the last circle of like PUBG or something, and you're up against some like pro team that's about to like go crazy on you, and you're like, oh my god, it's all coming down to this one moment, this 45-minute long match, is like this one firefight. I was getting that from a single player game, and I was like, you know what, kudos to this dev for getting my adrenaline going like that.
See, that's cool, and it's great, and I think those moments are awesome, but when so let's say, I don't know how long it took you to get enough gear to like get to that point.
I didn't spend that much time in the demo. Yeah, if I was 20 hours in, I might be thinking about it differently. Yeah.
You would be like, oh, okay, well now I just lost, even if it's not even 20 hours, even if you spent 5 hours and you're just like, I just lost 5 hours worth of progression, that's going to suck.
Do you think the game could end up having this kind of crazy appeal where like streamers like it because it'll be like that only up phenomenon where people just want to watch you try
brutishly brutishly punishing. Could be.
Yeah. I think it's a very interesting concept. I personally, if I were making the game, wouldn't have the balls to do it. But now that I've tried it, I'm like, if you can design it in a way where you don't feel like you have to go into those zones and you can still have a fairly full experience going into the really high risk zones, but not the full risk permadeath zones, then cool. And then maybe after you like say beat the game or play it enough, you're like, you know what? Let's take this into 11th gear. We're going into the permadeath zones, you know?
Let's take this to the next level, boys.
Because that's kind of how Stalker was designed as well. Stalker, at least it's hard for me to remember the original game versus the original game plus the DLCs, but there's enough side content that you don't have to go through, but a lot of it's extremely challenging side content. And so you can go through the whole game and just kind of focus on the main narrative quest and just loosely partake in the side content. But if you really go down some of the side quest content, it's like some of those missions are super hard and you'll end up in like these crazy areas with these, I forgot what they're called, mind flayers or something, like these horrible mutant things that just like basically use telekinesis to like screw you up in combat. You're like, I thought this was a first person shooter. Now I'm seeing double and triple and I'm dizzy and I can't see crap. Like it's cool, but yeah, you start dying and you're like, oh, I thought this feels like end game content, but it's just a side mission.
So it sounds like it could work out. I'm just really wary of things where all your progress is deleted, because it reminds me, and I feel like you gotta kind of develop it properly, because I feel like a lot of those games they'll up the difficulty because it's the hardest area, right? It's not only do you have the permadeath, but it's also the hardest area, and there'll be like a mechanic that you've never encountered before, and then you die to the mechanic, you're like, oh, I've never seen this before, and now I'm dead, and now I have to start literally all over from scratch, and that sucks. It reminds me of my time with, what was that? Was that car game?
Yeah. Something. I know it. Drive. Drive or something?
Pacific Drive.
Pacific Drive. Yeah.
Pacific Drive.
Yeah, no, I know how you felt about that. I just got,
after like, I was on like a 2-3 hour excursion, and then I like accidentally ran into a rock when I was trying to extract, and I got stuck on the rock, and I was like, I just lost 2 to 3 hours. I'm like, that sucks. And I didn't even know that mechanic existed. You would lose all your progression.
I could see that being an issue also with this game in terms of like janky stuff happening, because there's already stuff where you're getting stuck on curbs and AI behaving in weird ways where they just like insta kill you, or they're already shooting you as you like transition from one zone to another. You're like, what the heck, you know? So yeah, the game has to be designed really well to have permadeath style systems. You know, it's like people who play Diablo on the permadeath mode or whatever.
Absolute mad lads, especially at the beginning when the servers are exploding, and it's like every time they try, it's like, oh, and the server's down and my character's dead.
But that game, and even Diablo, which by most standards, it's a AAA, quadruple A game, as Ubisoft would call it. It has to function at a high enough level so people can play like that. But all those guys, most of their stories are like, the server lagged and I died, you know? And it's like, wow, that sucks to lose 100-hour character to server lag.
That's why I can't do it. There's just no way.
I couldn't do it either. But you know what, Matt? If you want to double your Twitch views, maybe you just got to start playing.
Hot damn. Let's go, baby.
Just got to get all crazy.
What it's all about.
Yeah.
That's just cool, though. I like the idea. I'm intrigued by the idea. It depends on the execution.
Yeah. So have you bought your CitizenCon tickets yet? Your 2024 CitizenCon tickets, Matt?
I have.
Am I going to see you there? Yeah.
I'll see you there, big man.
We're going to be in the front row like, whoa, Chris Roberts.
I've actually got backstage tickets, so I'll be in the back.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I'll be with Chris, right? His name's Chris?
Yeah. Chris Roberts. His brother, Aaron Roberts, also works on the game. They're hyping it up as the biggest CitizenCon ever, and this last one was a huge one.
Yeah, the last one was nuts.
So I'm like, are they just repeating the marketing, or is this actually going to be like the game launch CitizenCon, because it does happen.
CitizenCon was the one where they announced all the single player stuff, right? Where they were showing everything off, and they were showing off the server meshing.
Yeah.
It was it was a huge deal. That was
huge deal for the game.
So when is CitizenCon?
November, October. I don't remember.
Okay, so it hasn't been a year. I was like, has it already been a year? It feels like it was just like a couple months ago.
No, but I think you can maybe pre-order the tickets or something. I think it's just so people can start planning their insane vacations around it. October, says Jason. Thank you.
That's smart.
Yeah, this one's in the UK. No way I'm going to it. I didn't go to the one here, and honestly, I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I had a really fun time live streaming the event with Salty Mike and stuff, and I was just like, cool. Now I don't have to like pay for a hotel and do all this stuff. I'm not downplaying fan cons because I think they are cool, but I mean, there's a certain amount where you're like, it's too much.
There's something magical about going to those because it's so hype, but then also it's like, especially if you're working there and you're,
as a content creator, it's hard for me to justify it sometimes, where they're like, come to it. I'm like, I'll cover it better from home. Like, why would I go?
It's easier and I'm not drained the entire time.
Yeah. But they're hyping me, man. I'm a sucker. They got me around there.
Of course you are a sucker.
They got me around their finger. I'm not as big a sucker as some other, but Oh, they did a good thing. They did a thing that I think last podcast we were talking about them creating sort of an aggressive ship sale event that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. They basically created an in-game event for an opportunity to buy like $170 ship or something, and people were like, "This is bull crap." Like, one, the game event isn't really much of an event. It's just like a recycled mission with a different name and whatever. So it wasn't like super exciting. And then on top of that, they're like, so I have to do all this and then give you money?
And then spend you money.
So they did it. They added a nice free bonus.
They give us your hard-earned money.
Exactly. It's kind of insulting. I mean, it was insulting.
It is insulting, yeah.
So they added a nice big old free armor pack to it now. So if you do it, you get the free armor as well.
Okay, well, that's at least something.
They you know what they're doing? They see that they made a mistake. They're correcting the mistake. I'll give them credit for that, because a lot of devs or a lot of companies don't do that. They're just like, pretend like it didn't happen and distract, and then
smoke bomb.
Yeah. Pay attention to the news story. You'll never remember that we did that terrible thing.
Oh, I should mention really quickly, a lot of viewers are now becoming aware of our contract. We have a contract we signed for the podcast, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are now aware that you have there's a clause in your contract where you have to mention Star Citizen every single episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah. Well, I mean, and you have to talk about UI as well, right? You're like, the UI, I just wasn't feeling it,
No, I don't think I mentioned it today.
Yeah, you didn't. But you could talk about it if you want to. Is there some UI that's been good or rubbing you the wrong way or something?
Well, 76's UI is a little clunky, to be honest.
It's a Bethesda game, bro. Like, have they ever had a UI that looked amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Bethesda. They're so well known, and I can't think of any of their games that I'm like in love with or like have ever been fully in love with. But then again, I was never like a big. I tried the Skyrim games for a while, and
the Elder Scrolls games, yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry, who does Skyrim?
You're okay. No, Skyrim is Elder.
Oh yeah. Okay, got it. All right. I've tried a bunch of them, and I remember just like I got turned into a vampire, but didn't know I was a vampire because the game didn't really tell me.
Or something?
I was just like, why do I die every time I'm going outside and the game doesn't tell you? So I think I just quit because I was like, I don't understand.
Know you were a vampire?
Maybe they updated it, but I swear when I was playing, it just didn't tell you. Like, I guess I was fighting a vampire in a cave. Probably got bit through just normal combat, or something. Yeah. And then like next day, it's like
you're turned into a vampire. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't understand. And then I just stopped playing. That's
justifiable. That sounds frustrating if you don't know what's going on.
So I hold it against Bethesda and not my inability to read some
they
sort
traumatized
of UI marker or something. There's probably like a little flash at some point. It's like, you're a vampire now. And then it like disappeared. And I was like, well. The sun kills me every time. I have this terrible bug. The sun always kills me. It's bull.
That's what happens to me when I'm live streaming. Live streaming because I'm so distracted by like chat and then trying to figure out where to go and what to do, and then I'll always miss the little prompts every time. Every time there's a prompt, I'm like, oh, there was. It showed me. It's like, yeah, Matt, you just gotta pay attention. Quit being distracted.
I'm not good with prompts either, and I can't tell if it's like a content creator syndrome thing where you're sort of looking for other things or trying to be always cognizant about making interesting narrative gameplay or something like that doesn't let you zone in and kind of zone into the things that you should be, or if like a lot of game devs just are like, they'll see it if I pop it up on screen in the corner for half a second mid combat or something, because that's usually when it happens.
Oh my lord, I hate mid combat like prompts.
Yeah, because you're fighting and you get out of a fight and then you're like, what do I need to do now? And they're like, you didn't see the prompt that happened while a bullet was hitting you in the face? While you were
trying to avoid death? Yeah. I hate, and I get why they do it, because it's a good time to do it. It seems like it's a good time to do it, where they'll monologue at you while you're in a fight, right? And there's story and there's, development going on while you're fighting the boss. But like I can either focus on the dialogue or I can focus on the boss. I can't focus on both of them at the same time. Yeah. And so I literally always miss out on, unless it's just like very brief things, or you die over and over and over again. Like, I am Blade of Mikola.
Yeah. I'm fine with the little one-liners or the things they say, when they swing a thing. But yeah, if they're like, before you were born, I was, and you're like, we're fighting. Save it for the post-fight cutscene, man. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I miss all that. I can focus on only one thing.
Yeah. They're like, you missed that Darth Vader was it's like, Darth Vader waited till after the fight to be like, I'm your dad. They weren't like slicing and dicing and he's like, I'm your dad. And he's like, what?
What?
That's how he lost his hand. He got distracted.
So it's even to the point now where, and I think it's also because I live stream and I'm distracted by chat too. But if there's like if I'm listening to a little cassette or whatever, an audio log, I will just sit there and listen to it. I'm not gonna explore, even if it's just looting. I have to just focus on the one thing. Yeah. Because I just get too distracted by chat and everything else. Yep. That ADHD brain now, when for content creation, it just can't stop it.
I feel like most of this live streaming community has to have some form of ADHD to like keep that going.
Developed by it.
It's either constant. Developed or you just have it and you're like, it would be a great career choice for me, live streaming. I can't stop talking. Yeah. So that kind of thing. Man, I watched a movie last night that I heard about it because it won like Best Picture or something like that. Okay. I think at the last Academy. It got a bunch of awards at the Academy Awards. It's called Poor Things.
Poor Things. Haven't heard of it.
Yeah. I hadn't heard of it either until the Academy Awards, and it's a very kind of artsy film. So I guess.
Oh yeah, with her, Emma Stone. Yeah.
It is a ride. Like, I don't know how to describe it without invoking David Lynch. Have you seen any of David Lynch's movies? Like Eraserhead?
Yeah, not really. No.
He did Twin Peaks, which is kind of like
Dune. Yeah, I guess I haven't really seen too much of him.
Yeah. This movie is insane. And I didn't know, I read nothing about it other than I saw it got some awards and a couple people had recommended it. So I was like, let's put it on. Sit down and like the very first scene, you're just like, what are we watching? What is happening right now? And it just doesn't stop the whole way through. I don't know how to talk about it without giving away interesting premises
and stuff.
But I can say like, so it's kind of like this weird steampunk version of our
steampunk. I did not expect that based off of the photos and stuff.
Yeah, it's sort of like some pseudo steampunk alternate reality. Emma Stone. It's got Willem Dafoe,
It's got a stacked cast.
Stacked cast. The dude who plays the Hulk, whatever
Mark
his name,
Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo. They're all incredible in it, and it's also kind of philosophical and has a lot of like little undertones on like societal things and here and there. You can make little revelations based on the characters, but I could give you 10,000 years to guess the premise of this movie or like anything that happens in it, and you wouldn't even be close.
You wouldn't
man.
get it. Okay.
I
won't even try then.
It's wild. It's wild. Like there's like animal hybrid stuff in it. It's weird. Yeah. I recommend. I highly recommend it. I was like entertained the whole way through.
Did you have to rent it, or was it on a streaming?
I think it's on
platform?
Hulu right now. I think you can stream it for free on Hulu. So yeah, streamed it for free. Go watch it if you're in the mood for it. One of the other reviews for the movie, and I wasn't sure what to make of these because they were like, great movie. Just be aware there's a bunch of adult content in it. I'm like, I'm an adult. I think I can handle it.
I'm an adult.
Thank you. I've seen my fair share of R-rated films. There was a lot of scenes that I was very uncomfortable watching, and like moments where I was like, like that type of stuff. And I was like, okay, I get it. Like the adult content, maybe not the most descriptive way to describe it, but I don't know how else you can do it without saying what you're about to see. Just a wild movie. I have to look up the director now. Other people are saying his other stuff is good, so I'm like, okay.
Didn't Emma win because of that movie? Like an award?
Maybe.
For that movie?
I think she won something. She should have. I mean, my God, she went through a lot for that film. I'll just put it that way.
Okay. Right.
She's the main character, and almost every scene, if not every scene, she's in it. So it's just crazy.
Nice.
Highly recommend it. You should go see it so we can talk about it in slightly more detail. And I'm warning you, podcast listeners, go watch the movie because I want to talk about it more with Matt, maybe next podcast. But
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, go watch it, Matt.
Go
watch it.
I haven't. I have been watching a lot of stuff. I watched the Monarch Godzilla show.
Yeah.
You dive into that at all?
Yeah, I don't think we finished the first season yet. I think we're almost done.
There's only one season.
Yeah, I think we have like 1 or 2 episodes left.
Okay.
It's good. It's fun.
Yeah, it's not bad. It kind of meanders a little bit where it feels like a lot of the conflict could have been resolved by just hi, let's talk this through. And we can maybe come to a resolution where both parties will be happy and not just drag it out as for like no reason.
Yeah, dude, the episode where it shows the Asian guy and his girlfriend meeting at the like art show stuff.
Okay.
Like they just wrote her so horribly, and I was like, she just seems like a bad person. Like I don't get like the whole show. She's just got attitude and is like,
she's got spunk, man.
Spunk. I was like, I think you guys forgot how to write spunk, and you just turned it into like a angsty, mean, selfish person or something. I don't know. I started getting annoyed with some of the character writing in it, but
that's fair.
I do like, Kurt Russell. He's in the show. And his son is in the show. How cool is that? And his son plays the younger version of him. Like,
oh, I didn't know that was his son.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
Yeah. I've seen that guy in a bunch of other stuff. He was in that really good show. It's called like Under the Banner of Heaven or something like that. It's the show about these sort of detectives in Mormon country in like, where's Mormon state? Is it like Utah or something? And this is based on a real thing that happened in the 70s. And so it's like a detective crime show, but like in a Mormon county, and like apparently Mormon extremism is crazy. And Kurt Russell's son plays one of the Mormon extremists. And so, yeah, it's pretty nutty, but that's a great show too. I think it's called I'll look it up real quick. Under the Banner of... Yeah, that is it. Under the Banner of Heaven. Highly recommend that one too. I think it's on Hulu.
It's a good title too.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's got the guy, Andrew Garfield, who played Spider-Man or whatever. He's the main guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, he's really good. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he was Spider-Man with Emma Stone. Look at that.
Look at that. It's all connected.
Did you see the Spider-Man movie where they bring everybody back together?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay.
I haven't watched like a Marvel super. I haven't seen like a super. The only superhero thing I've seen is Invincible, which I did finish off this season, and which was great. It was a great season, sort of. But I haven't signed any Superman or Spider-Man. I haven't seen any recent Marvel stuff.
You haven't seen the Spider-Verse movies?
No.
Oh man, those ones are really good, dude.
I hear they are fantastic.
I think they're some of my favorite. I mean, like out of all the Marvel movies, not just like Spider-Man. They're so good.
Yeah, I hear they're exceptional. I just kind of got, I don't know, just burnt out on superhero stuff.
Everybody did, because it was like that. It's sort of a cultural phenomenon, the whole Avengers saga, because they were so good and so new and so interesting, and they all tied together into this, like, it was like a serialized movie epic, and it's like nobody's done that successful, or like it's so hard to try. And so people were just so pumped for each new iteration of the film, and Marvel was printing God knows how much money off of that stuff. And then they finished it with like, what was it, Infinity War or whatever, the last movie?
Endgame.
Yeah, Endgame. And then people were like, whew, all right.
That's it. I'm done. I'm off the ride. Whew,
and they're like, and then Marvel was like, wait, we're gonna keep the train rolling, guys. Let's go. Nope. Here's Captain Marvel. And people were like, whatever.
And now they've had complications with like certain actors, and it's a little rocky, to say the least.
They'll probably have you know what they'll do? They're just going to remake it in like another 10 years. They're going to reboot. Probably. They're going to reboot the whole thing and have a new Iron Man and a new Captain America and all that stuff.
I think where things started to stumble is multiverse is tough to make that feel good. Like having multiple universes and making that feel cohesive is really, really challenging. Yeah. And I think it goes back to the whole, it's always a bigger and bigger scale, right? You can tell a really great story with very little, like, at least in the grand scheme of things, the conflict isn't massive. It can be small stuff. It doesn't have to be, so half of the universe is now gone. Half the people in the universe are gone. Oh, what's going to be bigger than that? The multiverse is now multiple universes. Like
2/3 of the universe next time, Matt. It won't be half. 2/3. It's a bigger fraction.
Well, that's the thing is now they're going to the multiverse, where now every universe is now under attack. It's like, it's not just our universe; it's every universe.
Yeah, I tried to watch the Loki show, and I liked it. Like the acting is good. It's kind of engaging, and then it just after a while I'm like, I don't know if I just didn't finish whatever season we were on. I was just like, I don't know, man. It's just
I saw season 1 and I liked it, but I haven't seen it the second.
Exactly. There's something about it where you're just like, it's not quite compelling enough to draw you back in for the next one. And you're like, I don't know if I want to see because they can do anything with it. It's like crazy parallel timeline stuff, and they haven't solidified the logic in any sort of way that you can follow. Like every episode, they could be like, it's fracturing into a fractilinear, blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, okay, whatever that means. You could just tell me whatever you want, and in those kinds of shows, if you're going to invent new universe rules, like stick to the rules or get them dialed in quickly so that I can kind of follow along and not just expect completely randomness every single time,
I hear you. I feel you.
Yeah, there was like that show that did parallel universe stuff really early on that I thought was good. It was like a horror show where they're like hunting monsters, and then it like turns into this crazy parallel thing. I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember.
That one's old.
Fringe?
Yeah, is that it?
I've never seen Fringe, but I know a little bit about it. It might be Fringe.
Yeah, I like that one. That was fun.
Look at me. I've never even seen it.
Fringe was good. It didn't get too, like, the rules were a little, fringy, but once they establish kind of what's happening, you're sort of there with them, right? They're not like,
if you establish good rules and you actually follow said rules and you don't break them all the time.
Yeah.
It works.
It does. It does indeed. All right, Matt, anything else you want to talk about here? Are you good to go?
I mean, the only other game I played was Lightyear Frontier, which was basically a farming game, but in space, where you ride around in a giant mech and you farm and you explore and you tear down the environment for your own benefit.
It's space. Is it really an environment? Harvest those asteroids.
It's when I say space, you are farming on a planet.
Yeah.
But you're in a mech, right? So it's futuristic. That's all.
Okay.
That's what I meant by space. So it's futuristic farming on an alien planet. It was really cute. I didn't realize it was early access, so I kind of got towards the end. I'm like, wait, is that it? It's like, yeah, well, because it's early access, but it was very polished for what it was. And It was very chill.
The early access environment is it's so hard to like. I like it, but I also don't like it. I like that indie devs can fund their games and to completion and get like a good final product, but also you're playing an incomplete game at the start and it kind of ruins the first playthrough magic because you're probably not going to come back and play that again when it's final, right? So you're sort of missing out on the final package to a degree. Just something I've been like thinking about with my own game project stuff. I'm like, would we ever do it? And like, I think most indie devs want to try and avoid early access, and it's sort of hey, we're out of money, so we're going to do early access to finish the game approach.
It could also be used as a hype tool as well to get people interested in the like, oh wow, like check it out, this game is really cool, it's got a lot of promise. It's not done yet, but there is, I think, a little bit of a hype machine.
I think it can work better too, depending on the game design. Where if it's like a linear single player experience, you could lose a lot from it, where people just aren't going to come back for the final thing. But if it's more of an evolving multiplayer thing, then it can work totally fine. Early access can feel sort of like 1.0 to a degree. Yeah.
So Lightyear Frontier was fun, but it was a little one-notey. Like basically you kind of get the gist with after the first couple hours, but it just kind of just keeps going with that same one note the entire way. So hopefully they'll kind of mix it up and give you more options, but it was a cute little title.
Yeah, a lot of those games like that are just kind of about the vibe more so than like extremely engaging gameplay. Which I can appreciate though. Yep. Cool. All right. What advice do you have for our podcast listeners? And once again, I'll remind you that we do have a Patreon, and if you're enjoying the podcast, go ahead and subscribe. We have a playlist. I think you can subscribe directly to the playlist if you don't want to get bothered by all of my other awesome content and all that stuff. All right, Matt, take it away.
My advice comes from the great show, Vinland Saga, and that is you have no enemies.
What show?
Vinland Saga.
Never heard of it.
Oh, well, it's really good.
Is it anime? What is it?
It's anime, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It sounds like an anime name. Saga. I don't think any other.
Vinland Saga.
Yeah. And sorry, what was the advice? My
advice is you have no enemies.
You have no enemies.
You have no enemies.
Only friends? Well, I don't know.
You just have no enemies. No man is your enemy. That's my advice.
So women are the enemy. Got it. God, Matt. No.
Yep, that's where I was going with that one.
Okay. International politics may disagree with you, but it's a nice sentiment, I get it.
If you watch the show, it'd make more sense.
Okay. People are genetically altered to have no aggressive tendencies.
No, it's more of like we don't. Do you really want me to explain it? Because I could explain it if you want.
I'm just like, destroying your advice for my own enjoyment.
It's fine.
As I do. Well, okay. I'll ponder that advice a bit more. I'll take it as a ponderment advice. And
good, as you should. Digest that.
Let us know in the comments what you think about Matt's advice. You have no enemies. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate y'all. If you enjoyed the content, do the like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you're on a podcast platform, I don't know, maybe they have a like button. I don't really use them that much, but hope you're enjoying it. And we'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.
Bye.